welcome to the first Women's Hurling podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, David Reidy. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a rating. We're only starting off, so we need your support. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button right there and subscribe. And look, it's your support that makes it possible to keep producing these. David, you're very welcome. Possibly a historic day for the country. We'll probably remember this day 50, 60 years time talking to the grandkids the day we came out fully out of lockdown, I suppose. What are your initial thoughts on it as a player?
Yeah, it's kind of exciting times. First of all, it's kind of exciting to see where we're going to go. As you said, it's a dynamic kind of situation and things are changing the whole time. But at least it gives us a bit of hope and a goal to focus on in the coming months, coming weeks, even to get back into training.
It's definitely going to make the coach's job a bit harder, isn't it? Rather than throwing out a few balls and cones, maybe hand sanitizers and infrared thermometers and all sorts of stuff now going into the boot of the car. But yeah, sure, look, we'll see how it goes. Interesting times anyway.
That's the thing. It's going to change the way we'll think of training. Like, our mindset has to be completely different. We have to be 100% fit, physically, mentally, and healthy as well. So it's going to change the way we're approaching training sessions, approaching games. But again, at least we have something to aim for, and we will aim for it.
Absolutely. So first podcast, we've got a right one lined up. JJ Doyle, Ursula Jacob. I suppose before we introduce the two guys, I suppose a question we get asked a lot, Davey, on the internet is what's the story with the name Women's Hurling? You asked it to me as well. The very first time I suppose we talked about this, and look, I suppose the reasoning behind it, and we do get a lot of questions about it, I just thought there's a lot of negativity around the kind of the word camogie. Not so much within the game, but maybe in the greater sporting media and in the greater GA world. Even within camogie, I suppose you have the camogie goal, which when the goalie makes a blunder, there's a bit of negativity there around it. And I suppose when I started working with these guys, I just realised how good they were, the kind of athletes they were, just like absolute ballers, a lot of them as well, especially at the level we've been with in UL and stuff like that. So I suppose the name Women's Hurling is an attempt to change that perception of the game. It's the same game that you're playing, or it's the same game that Ursula played, and it's just a different gender playing it, isn't that it? It's just the same game, different players.
That's the thing. If you asked me a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been like two completely different games. But the more you kind of watch it and the more promotion that camogie or women's hurling gets, you kind of realise that they're doing the same amount of training as us. They're definitely up there with the same amount of ability. Again, every team are different, but you have them exceptional 2 or 3 players on most county teams, and that's what's driving the game forward, and hopefully that's what's going to be promoted as well with the whole women's hurling ethos.
Davey, I hate to break it, but there's no one logging onto this to listen to me or you, so it's time to get JJ and Ursula in, so let's get them on. There we go. So today's guests, we have Ursula Jacob. It's well known in Wexford, Ursula, your biggest challenge growing up was to be the best in your own house. Never mind being worried about being the best in the country or anything like that. Grew up in a famous family with plenty of history of winning and the brothers and everything. And I suppose to use an in-betweener's quote, if you look at camogie, you've pretty much completed it over the years. And we're joined by JJ Doyle, who delivered silverware to Wexford in camogie and hurling for 6 years in a row, which is no mean feat, JJ. A fairly unique record. A man that Liam Griffin once described as the best manager Wexford have ever had, which is a fair accolade to have anyone like Liam Griffin bestow on you as well. You're very, very welcome, guys. We're going to crack straight in. And I'm going to take you back to a date, Ursula, 3rd of July 1999. I don't think you were playing, or maybe in camogie you could have been playing at 13 or 14 back in those days. Who knows? But a scoreline that I suppose we came across there recently that was quite shocking, really. It was Cork 7-24, Wexford 2 points in the championship that year. And so the question is, can you remember that game, and kind of what kind of state was Wexford camogie in when you were growing up and coming up through the development squads and stuff like that?
Yeah, look, I actually do remember that scoreline, because obviously for the wrong reasons. I remember Wexford were really, really even struggling to field a team. And when I think back on that, like, that was 21 years ago, and we couldn't even field a team. And I think it really posed massive question marks, for players within the county board and everything, because we knew that if we didn't get our act together, things were going to remain, down in the dumps like that. So in fairness, in the few years following that, things did pick up. But I do unfortunately remember, that scoreline. Like when I was growing up, I had the likes of the Fiona Dunns and Stella Sinnott, who went on to be my manager at Wexford. And these were my role models when I was younger. And I always said, Fiona Dunn, who's Liam's sister, like she was one of the greatest camogie players I've ever seen. And it was always a privilege and an honour that I got to go and play alongside her with club. But, county in the All-Ireland, when they got beaten, when I was a supporter, I probably didn't think at that stage that I was going to be going on to play with Wexford and win 4 All-Ireland. So it was a bit surreal when I look back on it, really.
So it was almost a watershed moment, so you could say. There was a kind of a wake-up moment for the county to go, here, listen, this can't continue like this.
Well, there had to be. And, in fairness, when we were young, right through the ranks, the likes of Jack and Anne O'Brien, who were big influences on a lot of us at underage level, they were involved right up. They were at every match supporting us, and they were the ones to recruit the players if the numbers were down. And luckily enough, in my age group, the likes of myself, Mary Lacey, Mags Darcy, we did experience success at Leinster. We reached an under-16 All-Ireland, and I do believe that did, give us the appreciation and the motivation to go on and represent our county at senior level.
That's interesting that you said that when you were under 16 that we seen that you did kind of get success, but then bring it back onto 2007 and it was your first All-Ireland win. From that success, did you in the dressing room before that year, them original team meetings, was an All-Ireland in your thoughts? Was that in the plans? Was that your goal?
Yeah, well, I think coming into 2007, Stella Sinnott came into the setup that year. And in fairness, and when I look back now, we were streets ahead in terms of the professionalism that Stella and her management team brought in. The simple things like the food after our training sessions. We had statistics. We had, things that probably weren't there with other camogie teams at that stage. So I think we did raise the standard at that time. We had reached a couple of league semi-finals and finals prior to 2007. But I think there was this kind of underlying belief that year that things were going pretty well. We had a good campaign. We reached the league final that year. And we definitely had the core group of girls and a very strong panel at that stage. We were getting the mix right between having the youth and the experienced players there. You had the likes of Una Lacey and Katrina Park, who were the young guns, and then you had some of the more experienced players like Aoife O'Connors and Avis Nolans. And as I think that did help to us, because going in that final in 2007, Cork were going for the 3 in the row. They were strong favourites to win. Everyone said they would have too much speed for Wexford. We were the more physical team. But in fairness, I think we really embraced the occasion that year. That day, we had a massive support as usual from Wexford. Typical Wexford, we brought half the county waiters, and I think it really set the stall for the next few years. And 2007 really was just a magic year for us all over.
Mm-hmm. In a way, as you said there, like Cork going for 3 in a row, did that help kind of take the pressure off you a little bit as well?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Look, to be honest, a lot of us would have been just very much focusing on ourselves and kind of what was happening within the camp. Stella was excellent at that. She always said, worry about yourselves. Whether it was Cork, Galway, Kilkenny, whoever you were playing, it was going to be tough either way. But I suppose there maybe was that little bit of added pressure on Cork that they were going for the 3 in a row, and they probably had the more well-known team. And as I said, there was a strong focus. I remember saying that Cork were going to have too much speed for Wexford. And I suppose we just kind of had that inner belief and confidence. And we were quietly confident going up that day. And it was the first time every one of us had played in Croke Park. And I don't think we let the occasion get to us. That's one thing we kind of promised ourselves in the dressing room and in the weeks leading up to it, that we said, look, this may be our only chance of playing in Croke Park. We might as well go, hell for leather. We knew there wasn't going to be much between us. And that day, the couple of kind of standout things for me, Una Lacey got a couple of goals and it kind of settled us. And, we kind of just finished strong. And I think the support really actually did help us that day.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying the blend of players as well, between the experienced players, the newcomers coming into the squad was ideal. But we'll say then you kind of mentioned then going on, we'll say after that, then that type of players didn't just disappear in the following 2 years. So the celebrations must have been good, especially with half of Wexford in Croke Park as well.
Unfortunately, I think in 2008, our celebrations were still going on till the following April. Honestly, we went on a team holiday in the Easter of 2008, which was around April. And honestly, we were still celebrating the success. So to me, 2008 and 2009 were both very disappointing. We underachieved. You know, the fact that we didn't even reach the All-Ireland in those 2 years was very disappointing, because we didn't necessarily lose many players. We lost a couple like Avis Nolan, who was cornerback, and Michelle Hurling and that. But we had the bulk of the panel. We had the likes of Katrina Park, who was only 15, 16 at that stage, who was coming into the setup. And I think they were kind of 2 years that were wasted, because we should have built on the success of 2007, because we definitely had the players there. And I suppose that's leading in nicely to kind of what happened in the winter of 2009, and a certain Mr. JJ Doyle and that coming in and
spoiler alert, Ursula, spoiler alert.
You know, and I think we needed something like that. We needed the kick up the arse to say, look, there's definitely the talent there in the county, but we needed to get the structures in place, and we needed that standard setting, and we needed a professional setup coming in, and that's what we got.
Mm-hmm. So JJ, we haven't forgotten about you. I suppose like any good GA man, you went on a committee and ended up with the job you went for. What were your thoughts around the whole situation at the time? What kind of a reputation did the girls have? Obviously, they'd won in 2007. Not as successful as in 2008, 2009. What was the general feeling towards the group in Wexford at the time? And like, did you jump at the chance to take the job when it was offered, or did you have any second thoughts about it at all?
Well, I suppose the thing you have to remember is back that stage there probably wasn't much talk about camogie or that as there is obviously now, but like anyone that knew anything about camogie in the county knew that the talent was there. Like, I mean, Ursula Owlert had won 5 failures in a row, and you don't do things like that without having talent. A lot of them then fed into Closh de Breeden and Escarty, who won All-Irelands. As Ursula said, some of them won underage, and even in 2009, and no, Ursula said it was disappointing year, but they won the league in 2009 as well. So like the talent was there, and I'll be honest with you, I think they were absolutely robbed in the semi-final in 2008 against Galway, where Galway got a goal in, I think it should never have happened.
It definitely shouldn't have. Thanks for reminding me.
I know, you know, so they hadn't gone away or anything like that, and as you say, Stella and her management stepped down, and I was asked to go on a committee to pick a new management, and we spoke to a couple of people, but they weren't overly keen. Like, there wasn't people, you know, probably like there would be now. There was no one really putting their hands up, and then one of the other committee members rang me and said, listen, would you be interested? And I'll be honest with you, it took me about 2 minutes to say yeah, because like you don't get that kind of an opportunity every day of the week. And you know, I've always kind of worked along the lines, you won't regret things you do, you'll only regret things you don't do, and if it doesn't work out, well, sure, it doesn't work out. But I just felt the talent was there. I felt I could maybe offer them something and get the right people around me, and I suppose that was absolutely crucial as well. And you know, as you say, we started the process. I got the job probably about October in 2009, and you know, I knew I didn't want a big crowd around me. I just wanted a few people I could. Joe Brennan was from Gorey. I knew him well, and knew I could trust him. Tommy Roach was from the club here, and Geraldine Murphy then was from Ferns, and I knew I could trust the 3 of them. And then I went looking for someone to do strength and conditioning, and you know, eventually, I suppose through talking to many different people, I was put in contact with Jerry McQuaid, who would himself say he's a Monaghan man and wouldn't know a whole lot about hurling. By God, that he knew about getting teams fit, and he knew about dealing with people and treating people right, and talking to people and encouraging, like, and being their friend while he was running the shite out of them, pardon the language. And he kind of had that way.
That's okay. It's not that kind of show, don't worry, swear away.
Yeah. You know, he knew about it, and that was really it. And then we had a few people, as Ursula said, like you had the the likes of Rose Breen and Barbara Ryan and Mary Riley, who would do the food for the girls after training, and the county board kind of let us do our own thing. And it was a small group, but it was certainly one that we got on well with the girls. You know, as Ursula said, there was young girls there. There was more experienced players there. There was only, I think probably 2 or 3 players that weren't available that had played in 07. So the talent was there, and it was just a matter of, I suppose, getting the girls to believe in themselves and to try and get over that. What was probably becoming a little bit of a psychological barrier then was the semi-finals, and that was probably the biggest challenge that year.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting you say that. That for a team that had no fear going up to Croke Park in 2007, the next thing, all it took was a couple of defeats, and there's that little bit of a barrier there. So it's a very interesting dynamic. Sorry, David, cut across you there far away.
But you kind of mentioned you wanted a small, kind of tight management group. How do you think it's changed that you need a kind of bigger group, kind of more people with different jobs, or what way? Because most backroom teams now, there's nearly as one backroom member for each member dependent.
Yeah, and from my perspective, it's unnecessary, you know, because it ends up there's so many people there that people don't really know their roles, and at times maybe you think someone else is doing it and they think you're doing it, and then nobody ends up doing it, you know. Listen, obviously with strength and condition, with physiotherapy, with stats and all of that kind of thing, there's going to be more now than probably what there would have been 10 or 15 years ago. But some of the backroom teams are just, you know, you need a bus for them on the.
We were just about to say, Jay, does this mean you're getting rid of the second bus at the Wexford Hurlers, or what's the story?
No, we only go on a minibus.
I suppose, JJ, early in the summer of 2010, there was no real sign that you were going to take over the camogie landscape for the foreseeable future. You had a couple of early defeats in the championship in the group stage at Cork and Galway. Were you feeling the pressure a small bit at that stage?
No, because I tell you, like, I'd say the most important win I had in the 3 years was the league final in 2010, because you know, kind of we got over the line, and thanks to Ursula we got over the line. Remember, Ursula, you didn't start that game because you talk about winning things, like the girls have been involved with the Ashburn with WIT. I don't know how many did you win? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I won 3, yeah.
3, and you know, Katrina 3 in a row, and you'd won 4 if you had still been there for the 4th one. And you know, the girls kind of came back a little bit late, so we were bedding in new players, and we played Kilkenny down in Thurles, and they got a goal in injury time to go a point ahead, and Una got the equaliser, and Ursula got the winner 8 minutes into injury time. So you kind of know then that you have the character in the team, and you know you have the talent that's there. And you know, we went on then and we won Leinster by default that year because Kilkenny wouldn't play us in the final for some unknown reason. But you know, as you say, we went up to Galway. To be honest with you, it was a bit of a disaster. We lost by a couple of points, but we arrived up there and there was no water. The water was contaminated in the GA club that we were in, and it was just one of those days where nothing really went right. But there was still signs. You know, we were still kind of experimenting. You had a lot of games to play. We kind of targeted the semi-final was when we were looking to peak for, and not to be arrogant about it, but we felt we had the team to get there, and we kind of experimented in it. And you know, as you say, you don't want to lose, but I think we went down to Cork and we lost by a couple, 2 or 3 points down in Cork as well. And you know, we won all the other games. So you know, we just felt we were going the right direction. Fitness levels were very good. You know, a lot of players had been tried, and a lot of players had been given their chance. So we just felt we were ready. And you know, for the semi-final then obviously against Kilkenny and Nolan Park, you know, things really came good that day.
Yeah, that's what it's interesting. I suppose you mentioned the Ashburn there. I'm involved in the Ashburn myself, and that you didn't put any pressure on the girls to play, that you just used it as an opportunity to see other players. I suppose it's something I have a bit of a bugbear about the Camogie Association is, like, we'd have young players playing Ashburn with us there, and like we'd got girls from Galtier who played Ashburn with us one weekend. We're playing Club Ireland final 2 weeks later. We're back out the counties the week after, and then have a 12-week break to the championship. And it's like,
yeah,
you know, maybe it's time to start, maybe wipe the slate clean with the calendar and stuff. But it's very interesting that that's what you did. You used that, you left them off the WIT maybe Anne wouldn't release him anyway, JJ.
Ursula's sister Helena was also involved, and I think she was and Ursula was our sub goalkeeper.
But in fairness, I have to say, for me, the Ashburn Cup was so crucial because, like, it made me the player because I got to play against players from other counties. I played with the likes of Anne Dalton's, Trish Jackman's, Katie Powers. You were marking players that were at inter-county standard, and in the same, when you reached the Ashburn Cup semi-final and final, you were playing against inter-county players. So it was ideal preparation then to go back into a senior setup, because it wasn't like you were missing out on hard training. You were still getting the standard there, and I would be fully supportive that, like, county managers and that really should back the Ashburn Cup, because I think it's a great platform for anyone that wants to make the senior inter-county scene.
We'll skip ahead a little bit here now, but I suppose, sorry, Jay. Davey obviously went to LIT, and it was a well-known fact back in the day that a lot of the lads that heard Fitzgibbon for LIT would need directions down to the campus in Moylish. Just in 2010, Ursula, right? This is the team you had in WIT, right? You had Anne Dalton, Denise Gall, Trish Jackman, Katie Power, Marie O'Neill, Katrina Parrock, Michelle Quilty, and yourself. Now, were you all studying in WIT at the same time? Come on, now's the time to come here.
I will confirm that we all received degrees at the minute.
That's not what we asked, Ursula.
And I will confirm our attendance records were excellent.
Yeah. Well, what a team that was. That must be the greatest Ashburn team of all time.
Like, when I think back on that, like, we had 6 senior inter-county forwards at inter-county. Then we had Anne Dalton playing midfield. We had Trish Jackman in the half-back line. Sarah Ann Fitzgerald from Laois. Like, my God, like, cornerback. You literally couldn't, it was just such a competitive team, and, like, it made a lot of those girls as well, the players that they are, and a lot of them would testify to that the Ashburn Cup is one of the best competitions to make you physically stronger, mentally stronger, and also you get to know girls from other counties, which is nice too, because you're often killing each other out in the field, so it's actually nice to be wearing the same jersey for once.
Yeah, I agree though that the importance of the kind of third level competition, male or female, is probably next to inter-county level, senior inter-county level. Like, just the as you mentioned there before, like, the challenge you get of who you're marking and who you're playing with. It's just you can't compare with it. Like, yeah, it's the closest thing to senior inter-county, male or female, that you can play, really.
But if you put that team into the championship that year, there'd be very few teams that stay with you. Few county teams. It's like it's you're somewhere ranked. It's even with the team we have in UL, like, playing challenge matches there and stuff. There's only maybe 1 or 2 counties that could beat you. So it's a serious standard. It's a shame maybe it's not given more of a free place in the calendar without National League games being on before and after and stuff. Yeah. It'd probably benefit a bit more. But I suppose you came good anyway, Ursula, in 2010. Yeah, obviously you hammered Kilkenny down in Nolan Park, which was probably sweet after they refused to play in Leinster. I can't remember the background story to that. And we're hoping to get a few Kilkenny people on in the next couple of shows, so we might move swiftly on to that one. And you took Galway in the final. I suppose, was it a different feeling to the first one? After what we've discussed there about maybe the mental block and stuff like that, was there maybe more of a sense of relief around that one as opposed to maybe the sheer elation of winning in 2007?
Yeah, like, it was definitely different than 2007. I think we even grew in a little bit more experience and maturity in the couple of years, and I think we really wanted to take this opportunity because, as I mentioned previous, we felt that the previous 2 years were nearly wasted, that we hadn't got back to a final. So I think, from the start when JJ got involved, our target was we were taking each game step by step. The first hurdle was the league, then it was the Leinster Championship, and then we were setting our focus onto the Championship. And credit, to JJ and the lads, they kept saying, trust us, trust what we're doing. Jerry McQuaid, even with our fitness, maybe it wasn't up there where it needed to be against the likes of Galway's and Cork's at the start of the Championship. But I think when I look back now, there was a purpose in what they were doing with the training. They were getting us to peak at the right time, and by God, we did. Because the further we were going in the Championship, the stronger we were getting. We were finishing out games well. We were able to go into injury time still feeling good mentally and physically. And credit to Father Oran Furlong as well. He was he was crucial to our setup as well, because we did a lot of kind of work like visualization coming into the games, something that maybe wouldn't have been done with other teams back then. And I remember even in our weekly team meetings or whatever, or coming up to that final, and Oren sitting us down and asking us to visualize the whole day, what was going to happen, what each of us were going to do, whether I was full forward or Mary Lacey was centre back, what was our goals, in what were we hoping to achieve in the game. And I remember we each wrote down our goals, what we wanted to do, and it kind of then when it came to the day itself, it was like, okay, each of us knew what our job was going to be, what we needed to do. And look, I suppose we got beaten by Galway already in the championship, and maybe there was that little sense of we wanted to get revenge back in the final, but again, we were kind of very much focused on ourselves. And you know, we I think we enjoyed that final because, you know, as I said, it was disappointing the previous 2 years, and to get back there then again with the purple and gold supporters in the crowd cheering us on, it was just brilliant. But like, credit to Galway, my God, they were a strong, formidable team as well. You know, you look at their setup there, the likes of Niamh Kilkenny and Sarah Dervin were only the young guns coming in onto those teams, and then you can't forget the likes of Therese Maher and all them. So, you know, we knew it was going to be a huge challenge, and it was. Like, there was only 2 points in it at the end, really.
And Ursula, you were talking about visualization. That was definitely way ahead of 2010. Like, and just we say going on from that, did you continue to do these small techniques throughout the rest of your career, or was this whoever you were with?
Yeah, like, I think, so Oren would have been there with us the 3 years that JJ was with us. And in fairness, you know, you're thinking at the time, oh God, is this silly, or is this really benefiting me? But it honestly was, because everyone deals with big games in a different way. Some get nervous, some get excited, some can be really annoying to be sitting beside on a bus or whatever. But I think each of us would have taken away something from those sessions with Oren. He was excellent. He was a great communicator. He had a purpose, and that's what JJ is talking about with anyone that he had involved in the setup. Everyone knew their role, and Oren had a role. And I think maybe it wasn't something visual that everyone outside of the setup could see, but within that setup, each of us knew how important Father Oren was to things. And it was definitely something I've developed in the last few years. Look, I would have done a master's in sports psychology anyway, so it's something that I'm interested in anyway, and it's something that I think you can always improve on. So that definitely was the starting platform for me, really.
Excellent.
JJ, going into 2011, like we spoke about there, like, were you conscious of the lack of success that the group had when they won in 2007? Like, did you do anything different to make sure that, I suppose, the mindset was correct? I suppose, speaking of the sports psychology, going into 2011 to maybe do the 2 in a row, or did you just take it as a new season and a new start again?
I'd say definitely learn from talking to the girls about their experience of it. The one thing that we did do was we went on the holiday just after Christmas. We weren't going on one. We weren't leaving because, in fairness, Ursula has said it already, it was probably, like, it was also new after 2007. Like, it's understandable, that thing, but if we didn't learn from it, well, we should never have been led over a team again, you know. So we celebrated, we did the schools, we did a huge amount of going around and trying to, I suppose, capitalise on the success here until the beginning of January. And then we parked 2010. And people kind of say, oh, listen, it's easy to say it, but that's what we did. And then we focused on 2011. And I suppose 2011, then we took over the intermediate team as well. And like, we had 47 girls trained, 48 girls between the two panels, all trained together. And the commitment, and they were all there all the time, and it just meant for massive competition within the squads. You know, there was sisters on both squads, there was cousins, there was friends, there was clubmates. I mean, there was a great camaraderie between them, and still you had the intermediate girls, and they were pushing to try and get onto the senior, and just pushing the senior girls as well. So none of them had time to kind of rest on their laurels. And then we came to the summer, and we played Galway and Belfield on our home pitch, and it looked like we'd been on holidays for 6 months, because I think it was either 11 or 13 points. They absolutely hammered. Yeah, hammered us, you know. And you're kind of looking where the year before they beat us by 2 points in Galway, and you'd say, yeah, but But even at that, like, we didn't panic because now that the belief was there. We girls who had won 2 All-Irelands. You know, we'd won the National League that year as well, you know, in 2011. So, like, we did have belief in it. Now, to say that you wouldn't be happy after it or anything like that, but back then I think we had 6 or 7 games in the round robin, which meant you had loads of time to get over it and loads of time to get back on the horse. But I suppose what it did do was, and Ursula mentioned it earlier, I gave us all a kick in the arse that, listen, this wasn't going to be easy again. Like Galway, we'd beaten Galway in an All-Ireland final, and I think we beat Galway in the league final that year as well, and they were really out for blood, and maybe they put too much emphasis on that game. I'm not sure, but like, we certainly learned lessons from it, and it gave us that jolt to probably, you know, knuckle down and decide, well, are we going to let what happened in 2008 happen again, or are we going to push on? And in fairness, the girls answered it in the right way, and things just snowballed from there for both teams, both the intermediate and the senior team.
Every team, I'm a firm believer in it. Every team, especially if you're the favourites in a competition, needs an old jolt. You're just hoping it doesn't come in a knockout game. You have to wait 12 months to recover from it. If you're going to get it, it's in the first or second round of the group, isn't it? Is the thing. But I suppose, look, 2011 Ursula was, I suppose, a dream final for you. You're captain. You got that goal. Davy's friend Cyril loves saying bang, bang over the bar, bang back of the net. You managed to get 2 off him in the 1 commentary, so that's a fair. That's there probably seals it. Did he ever give you a bang in LIT, Davy?
There was a few of them, all right, but it wasn't a bang complimented me anyways. It was a bang, a kick up the hole.
Yeah.
But I actually only listened back to that commentary there during the week, and I don't know did he even realise he was commenting on a game. Like, it was just crossfield ball, bang into the back of the net, bang, and it was just went.
But it was just pure instinctive, really, from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was just, it actually made the goal, because it was just, he thought he was in his living room talking to someone. It was just brilliant. Yeah,
just on that goal and on Cyril, like, Cyril wasn't the only person in Croke Park that was surprised that Ursula got that goal, because Ursula never stuck her hand up to catch a ball. you never, like, everyone was surprised that Ursula caught the ball, because
JJ, I was shocked I even caught it.
Absolutely, and everyone kind of looked, did she do it? And you kind of know then, listen, Jesus, this is our day, because I'll be honest, 2011 we were, like, Galway were the better team. You look back at that final, Galway were the better team, and you talk about getting a little bit of luck in games and needing luck, and like, they got 3 points up, and then Tara Rutledge hits the post, ball comes out, we win a free, and the ball goes up the wing, and that's when Josie crosses his Thursday back at the net. It goes for a 4-point game. That was it, though. It was bang in the back. Like, no keeper was saving it. And we're back to level square. And it just gave us a shot in the arm, and it absolutely demoralised them. And that was, you know, and it's small little things in games that can make a massive, massive difference.
Sure, Sarah Dervin has probably been told all week, Ursula, that she won't catch it, it'll break the ground, be ready for the break, and next thing is inside the back of the net.
Well, I think it took me a few months to recover from actually catching the ball, because you can see it, if you look at that goal again, you can actually see a slight hesitation nearly, and after catching it, and I'm like, oh God, I may strike it quick. But look, it was an ideal time when we got the goal, because as JJ said, like, Galway nearly got a goal at the other side of the field, and they were well on top of us. We just weren't, at the races at all. And I suppose we took our chances and we took the opportunity, like, credit to Josie for hitting such a great ball across to me. But
technical difficulties there, Ursula. You're gone on mute.
Yeah.
There we are. The joys of it. But I suppose
if I had one of them back in the day.
Or 49 of them, JJ.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
But look, geez, like, you won the intermediate final that day as well, and you must have felt absolutely invincible leaving Croke Park that day. Did you just, like, that must have been an incredible feeling, JJ, was it? Like, to go up to Croke Park and never mind winning 1 All-Ireland, to win 2 All-Irelands in the same day. Amazing stuff. It
was unbelievable, and I'll tell you why, Adrian. It was unbelievable because it was so disappointing the previous year for the intermediates. Like, we'd all trained together again the previous year. Obviously, they had different management, but like those girls on the intermediate team the year before against Offaly, I think there was something like 12 or 15 points down, and they ended up getting beaten by 2. And like you, the likes of Helena there, who was our sub goalie, was their starting goalie, and those girls got beaten at that. But they came into the senior dressing room that day, and never once did they let it affect. And they must have been absolutely demoralised. So to see them winning that, now I didn't get to see the celebrations because I went straight into the girls, but to know that they had gotten over it, and like I was probably happier for them that day than I was for the seniors, because we'd seen what they'd gone through the previous year, and like you had so many sisters on it, you had so many club mates and cousins and relatives, and it was just an unbelievable day. And to be able for Colleen and Ursula to be able to both bring the cups home, like it was just, it's not,
but
it's,
one thing
you can't explain the feeling.
One thing I remember, JJ, from that day, do you remember when at half time, and you were probably giving out to us that we weren't performing in the senior, and I remember the intermediates and the subs lined the tunnel for us running back out onto the field, and I'll never forget it, because I remember we were a little bit down and maybe we weren't playing well, and I remember it giving us actually a bit of a lift. And you know, they obviously had won the intermediate, and I remember them lining up the tunnel and saying, come on girls, there's 30 minutes left, you know, you can do it. And I remember it did give us that little bit of a spur on and a bit of a kick to drive on, and you know, we wanted to do ourselves justice and do Wexford justice. And I think that was, you know, it's just a nice little touch that they did, and it's something that I remember going out onto the field.
Says a lot about the culture you had in the squad, that they were like that. The only time I've ever really experienced something like that is last year in Croke Park. I was doing a little bit of media work, so I was coming across from the Cusick to the Hogan, and I just came across the Galway subs that had been on the intermediates, and they were waiting for the senior team to come out on the pitch. And like, I remember Ciara Murphy being inside in the huddle, and she's going, girls, we're nowhere disappointed, but smiles on the faces when these girls come out of the tunnel, this can't bring it down. And I just thought, geez, that's a superb attitude, because they were all very young and obviously, of course, disappointed after losing themselves. And it really speaks a lot for a culture when a group like yourselves or a group like those, it's no surprise that you had the success you did, or that Galway obviously had the year they did last year, you know?
Yeah.
But even describing that as well, it kind of gives you goosebumps up the back of your spine, kind of, and like that's not a pre-planned move, that's instinctive. Say, in terms of the rest of either management team or the core leaders of that group of players, that they decided to line the tunnel. And again, it's a credit to the culture, as you were saying.
But
and I think,
I think the thing with that final as well, I remember talking to some of the girls afterwards where, you know, we were 3 points down and we weren't playing well, and just asked them like afterwards, like, what were they thinking? And I don't know whether Ursula was one of the ones that I talked to or not, but some of them said, listen, they just basically thought, well, it's about time we started playing now and won this game. And that kind of shows the experience and the belief that was within the squad and within themselves, and probably in the back of their minds thinking, geez, intermediates have won. We can't go home not winning today. You know, and it's those little percentages that they get you over the line in really tight games.
I wonder where the intermediates really thinking, geez, this is really going to be a buzzkill if the seniors don't win for the session. For the week, yeah. I suppose, look, going into 2012 then, look, there was no question you were the top team in the country. Like, geez, you had the final wins to prove it. I suppose before you won the 2 in a row, Cork had won 4 in 5 years. You know, the kind of shy talk that goes on now in the JJ was there any kind of talk around the place that, look, you haven't really made it until you beat Cork, or was that really, or even within your own camp, did you want to beat Cork in a final to really go, look, we've left our stamp on this generation of camogie?
Yeah, like I suppose 2012, like the girls Oulart had won the All-Ireland that year, and we got beaten in the league final, but like the girls hadn't come back. And I suppose going back to the point you were talking about earlier, like we didn't go near the girls from Oulart until 3-4, maybe 3 weeks after they won the All-Ireland. Never even thought of asking them to come in and do train that, because the way
couldn't find them.
No, we found them all right, but there was 9 or 10 of those girls involved with our panel. But like you have to compartmentalize things a little bit as well, and there's a place for everything. And I don't see the reason for flogging players, because ultimately it's about championships. Like Wexford, that Wexford camogie team between 2009 and 13 were in 5 league finals, won 3 of them, and they're never really mentioned because listen, let's be honest about it, it's about championship, and championship is played in the summer, and you want players fresh. Now, we had a team of outworkers coming in absolutely confident after winning the Club All-Ireland. We had won 2 All-Irelands ourselves, and like things were buzzing. But yeah, I'll be honest with you, deep down, you're probably looking back now, you'd say, listen, it was probably a bit sweeter even beating Cork in it, because there was great symmetry. Like as Ursula's already said, in 2007, the girls stopped Cork in their bid for 3 in a row, and Cork now were trying to maybe stop us in our bid. But genuinely that year we focused on 2012. You know, it wasn't that we weren't thinking or talking about 3 in a row. Like, okay, in the week before the All-Ireland, a lot of media was talking about, but we weren't. Like, we were focused on it. And if I'm honest, it was 13 points that year that Galway beat us in the championship. So I was probably happy that I think Galway, whatever happened to Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final day against Cork, they arrived late into Nolan Park. I think they got caught in a traffic jam or something, and they arrived about half an hour before it, and they never got going in the game again. Like, they were absolutely on fire that year and beating everyone. And you know, the
guards from New Ross were on duty in Kilkenny that day.
I wouldn't say that. I'd never cast those aspersions on the good men in the uniform, but if they were, fair play to them. But you know, like, if we had Galway, then there would have been that whole thing about, oh, Galway have been beaten twice in a row, and probably would they have had that bit more hunger or whatever. You know, Cork were probably a young with some very experienced players in it, but yeah, it's a bit like you didn't beat Kilkenny. You know, beating Kilkenny with the lads is, you know, especially over the last 10, 15 years, 20 years, you know, you beat Kilkenny, it's like, it's still the same trophy, but it's that bit sweeter. And it was the same at that stage at Cork. Okay, I know we had ourselves and Galway had dominated probably the previous 2 years, but still got Cork were the, you know, the team that everybody aspired to be like, to be longevity, and that's what we went out to beat them. And you know, and that probably focused us on beating them rather than just going for 3 in a row.
Yeah, Ursula, back in 2012 as well, like you were saying that you wanted to peak, the longer the summer went on, the more you were peaking. And like, is that all credit due to JJ, or is that kind of player decision as well, that, or even JJ, if you want to answer it, is that kind of a leadership group within the team, or is it a combination of both, or is it just the management? Because I think he did lose in the group again in 2012. So like, he drove on then the late.
Yeah, that wasn't the plan. No, I'm not going to claim that was the plan.
No, but I do think there was that trust there, though. You know, at that stage we had a good trust with our management team, with Jerry, the physical trainer. That, look, you know, maybe it was a blip. We suffered a defeat, but I suppose we had suffered defeats in the early rounds of the championship in the couple of years before as well. So I think at that stage we had the belief that, you know, we could recover from a defeat like that and push on. We knew we had high standards at that stage right across the board from the management and the players. And yeah, there was really strong leaders across the board in that panel. Whether they were a sub or one of the starting 15, everyone was there giving this exact same effort. And you never missed a training. You were too scared to ring JJ if you were going to miss. So you made sure you were there. And again, I think it happened at the right time of the year. It allowed us to recover, get things right, and we tweaked a few things. And, you know, players that maybe hadn't played in the earlier rounds in the championship then ended up starting in a final. Like Fiona Rochford, who was corner forward that day, like, she had played, you know, in the intermediate final in 2011, hadn't really featured in the championship of 2012, and then was playing in the semi-final against Offaly, and then played in the final. And she was had such a great game in that final against Cork. The possession she won, the couple of points she scored. So it was like new leaders were forming. It wasn't just the Kay Kellys, the Mary Lacey's, the Mags Darcy's. It was, Lisa Bulger was playing, and we had Fiona Rochford came on. So everyone was contributing. And again, it came down to everyone knew their role. And I think that was key to it, really.
Yeah, like, I suppose it was the dream final, really, wasn't it? I suppose it was the one, it was really the one the media wanted. And look, like, I suppose it was almost a winner takes all battle, really, wasn't it? Like, you know, I suppose considering everything that had gone on over the previous 6 or 7 years, it was, I suppose, even though it was Paddy's first year, it was kind of, if Wexford had won it, that was it. Like, you were the team of that era, and if Cork had won it, it was kind of the case they're back, and it was only a blip that they were gone. So again, I suppose I keep asking this question, you keep saying no, but was there an extra bit of bite or an extra bit of pressure going into that game, JJ? Did you see it as a bigger game than the previous years, or was it just, look, we're here again now, we'll drive on, that's it?
Yeah, like I'll be honest with you, we felt pressure for every game, and I've never enjoyed a game that I've been over a team, and there's no point in saying any different. Like you don't. I mean, the week beforehand, the day of it, like you're worrying, you're thinking, like you're kind of, I suppose as a manager, there's a bit of a control freak about you, and once the girls go out in the field, that's gone. Like there's very little, as much as the cult of the manager might think that they're running things from the line, they're not really. You know, no. and we were lucky enough in that we knew that we had the leaders, as Ursula said, like we had the leaders all over the field. And like you look at the team, I mean, the 3 in a row, the whole spine of the team was the same for all. Like fullback, you had Mags in goal, Catherine Loughlin fullback, Mary centre back. You had Una centre forward, Ursula full forward. I know Katrine was full forward for that one, but it didn't really matter. The two of them were kind of swapping, but that spine was there all the time. And then you had the experience of, you know, the likes of Claire O'Connor, Aoife that was there for a couple of years, Josie Dwyer, you know, Nolene Lampert, like the unsung heroes of the team, likes of Michelle O'Leary, the amount of work that some of those girls did that never really got the, you know, I suppose the credit for, but you don't win games without those players. So we had them, and we knew that, like when they went out in the field, that they were going to do it. But like there's pressure there. I mean, you're trying to win in All Ireland, and whether it's a 3 in a row or it's the only difference, what I would say is that getting to the final in 2010 was a big achievement, winning the semi-final. But everything after that, then it's, well, sure, okay, you're expected to get to a final, and you get to 3 in a row, you're expected to win it, and that puts even more of a pressure on, because, you know, anything less than winning then is no good to anybody. So, yeah, listen, it is different. There's no point to saying it, and it was sweet winning the 3 in a row. And I'll be 100% honest with you, it was the sweetest because it was the best performance that the team had put in the 3 years that I was there, without a shot, the most complete performance. So I know, like, we went 7 points up or 6 or 7 up in the first half, and Cork came back and were level by half time. But it was a different, like, even half time, okay, I might have had a few words or that, but you know, but we came out in the second half, and then there was goal. Like, everyone talks about Ursula's goal, the brilliant strike off the ground in the top corner. I'm sure she talked, but for me, it was the one prior to that. And as a coach, you know, if I was to coach anyone playing the full forward line about following a ball in, like Aoife Murray probably was half a second away from having the ball in her hand, but because Ursula followed it in, and that's just instinct. That's a forward's instinct, and it was in, and a little bit of a flick before she caught the ball, and the ball is in the net. And okay, they went up and scored a goal at the other end, and then back down, and, like, in fairness, it was an absolutely unbelievable goal that Ursula got from the edge of the square. So, you know, it was just one of those games. But I reckon the other 2 games, like, we were kind of nearly hanging on. The first 2 against Galway, that one, had it gone on longer, we just would have pulled further away, because the girls were just absolutely. And Ursula mentioned Fiona Kavanagh came on, and it was always just a sub coming on in that, but the impact she had that day when she came off the bench was just phenomenal. And that's the kind of thing you need.
That's the thing. You said it was your complete performance. I think you got 3-13 the same day. I don't think that's been beat since Galway last year. But talking about your goal, Ursula, you said that it was a fluke. Probably wasn't. It was the same. It was a similar goal that Shamie Callan got last summer. I suppose you were on the sideline for that, JJ.
Oh God, we remember.
I know, David, I thought you were a nice lad. I just thought you were a nice lad now.
Hold on, wait till we get to 2014 under 21 final, JJ. Because I don't know, there might be time to hit the stop button here.
If we'd only got to the final in 2014, I'd have been happy. Oh, sorry, 13 I'm thinking of. Yeah, go on.
Jeez, true. We're going to give the researcher the bullet there, JJ, for a second. We're sweating. But Jesus, it was a great goal, though. It was a class goal. Like, Jesus, just, you know, it's a shame, I suppose, like that. It's not played more, you know, like, and that, you know, we'd be joking, like that Shamie Callan goal when Bill O'Mara went down the middle and laid it onto him and he clipped it, like, that was superb, and we'll probably see that for years and years to come. But, like, geez, your goal was every bit as good, if not better. It was just a sweet strike. And he's to connect with something like that in Croke Park and watch go to the top corner, it must be just kind of going, yeah. Like, you know, in your own heart and soul, like, that's class, like, you're kind of going, yeah.
dwelling on it at the time, but when it's nice to look. In fairness, it's nice to look back on, and in fairness, an awful lot of people, even in the last couple of weeks, the way the finals have been played on the RT player, you'd have a few people still saying, "God, that was a great goal," and it is a nice memory. But to be honest, like, God, if we had ended up losing and I got that goal, I wouldn't be saying, "Oh God," as long as we won, I didn't care whether it was me or whoever got the goal. But it did finish. I think we won that game in style. Both teams, I think, went at it. Whereas the Wexford Galway finals were a little bit more reserved and a bit more of a dogfight and the physical aspect. Whereas there was two teams, Wexford and Cork, just going at it, all out hurling. The refereeing was quite good. He let the game flow. And it led to an excellent game. And to me, it was one of the top camogie finals in the last kind of 15, 20 years, really.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's interesting there that you say about the referee letting it flow. I suppose, look, we've had a series of terrible camogie finals for maybe ever since, until this year, until Ray Kelly let it flow. And you could almost sense the Kilkenny and Galway players kind of putting their shoulders back going, geez, we can actually go in and hurl here. And it's a fantastic spectacle as a result. So I think if there is anyone listening from the Camogie Association here, maybe there's an old lesson in that, to let it flow a small bit more.
Let it flow.
Let it flow. But yeah. But geez, you had some year that year, Ursula said you won the Club of Ireland. Obviously, it's got a couple of goals in the final, 2-7 in the final, all-star, everything. It nearly well to throw the boots into the canal walking over to Crow Park that day. It wasn't going to get much better, was it?
Well, at that stage, you're thinking, my God, everything you seem to be playing in, you're winning. And you did appreciate it, but I suppose you probably even more appreciate it now. Like, looking back, it's hard to believe. If you would have said to me that 8 years have passed by and Wexford haven't reached the final since then, like, that to me is hard to believe, because we were on top of the camogie world at that stage. We were dominating at senior and intermediate. The intermediate teams that had won would have competed well at senior level because it was such a strong team. And as I said, we won that game in style, and I suppose it's disappointing a little bit that I probably feel that there could have been maybe at least one more All-Ireland in that kind of team. And look, but it just shows like how hard it is to win in All-Ireland. Galway were always going to come back, after being disappointed not to reach the final in 2012. Cork were always going to be there, and then Kilkenny were always going to get their act together, really. So we knew we weren't going to dominate forever, but it probably is a little bit disappointing that maybe I feel that we could have maybe won one more with that group of girls.
Yeah, so it's all JJ's fault for leaving, is it?
Yeah. Basically, he just upped and left us and, abandoned us. I know, in fairness, it was like JJ was moving on to the under-21s, and we all fully respected his decision with that, because obviously JJ was ambitious enough. He wanted to go with that with the lads. But I suppose it was a combination of JJ leaving, and then a number of girls were retiring, and it maybe became a little bit disjointed, and maybe that had an impact on the couple of years after. But definitely from my perspective, I felt that if we had maybe stuck together, we maybe would have reached the final even after that.
And JJ, you decided to manage the under-21s in the following season. Why did you decide to leave, or was it job done in camogie that moved on?
I'll be 100% honest. I left the camogie and I had no intention of going to the under-21s. The under-21s, remember Adrian Fenton, there was a hurling committee down here in Wexford, and about a week after I had announced I was leaving the camogie, he rang me. And the reason, I'll be honest with you, the reason I left the camogie was, as I've kind of said already, I just felt it was a good point to leave, in that we'd won the 3 in a row, but I just felt we'd had that complete performance against Cork, and it's 3 years, and it was a heavy 3 years, because it was full belt. It was January to January, because All-Irelands were over in the middle of September, but then there was all the stuff with the schools, and I just felt a responsibility to make sure that was done as well, to suppose leave some sort of a legacy there. And after 3 years of it, it was just literally, I just wanted a break. And then, as I say, and I don't know whether people believe me or not, but genuinely then, I wouldn't have left the camogie for the under-21. Simple as that. I would go to the camogie now before I'd go to an under-21 team. And there's no point of saying any difference. But then it was the opportunity, then they asked me, would I be interested in doing under-21s? And it was a bit like the time with the camogie. I said, well, I may not get this chance again. So went with it, and I mean, we had a bit of success with them, but obviously not near the success that had with the camogie.
Yeah, look, it's refreshing, I suppose, that you're saying that you'd rank the camogie over the under 21s. So look, we've never really met, no, JJ. This is a bit embarrassing, but you're definitely an inspiration to me as a young manager, because look, I get it in the year the whole time. You've probably had it over the years as well. What are you doing with the camogie? And so you're never going to make it in the hurling if you stick with the camogie and stuff like that. But like, it's interesting there what you say about managing a season from January to September and that. And like Joe Quaid always said it as well. Like, there's no better experience for senior county management than senior camogie management, because it's the only season where you have to prepare pre-season, league, downtime, championship, mix the clubs, mix everything else. So like, I suppose it's your manager as a manager. It doesn't really matter what the group of players is. Or am I off the mark there?
No, I would say 100%. And like, I felt a huge burden is not the word for it, but responsibility to do everything I could do for them camogie girls, because the talent was there. I mean, and they deserved to have the setup to allow them and to facilitate them to be the best that they could be, because like, we didn't have the best of that generation. Like, we had some of the best of any generation, not alone Wexford, but nationally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I could name, and I won't start name, but like, Ursula's here tonight, and I'm not blowing smoke up or anything like that, but like, Ursula's probably one of the best camogie players that's ever played the game. And like, she was surrounded by, in her own club, never mind in the county, by the likes of Owen and Ursula. And one girl, you know, our captain in 2012, Karen Atkinson, lasted 13 minutes in the All-Ireland final in 2010 and went off, damaged her cruciate ligament, and, you know, came back. And you talk about unsung heroes. I mean, a girl that I'd say any corner forward would absolutely hate to mark, but just did her own, did the job well, and delighted for her to get the chance to be, you know. So I felt I had a responsibility for those girls to make sure that everything was done to give them a chance to flourish. And whether that's lads or girls, I just don't, like, guys say to me, like, what's the difference between managing the girls and managing the lads? What's the difference is, you know, the girls will listen more often than what the lads will listen. Simple as that. Now, they'll talk more than what the lads will do as well, but they'll certainly
but
listen.
that's only healthy. That's healthy.
That's exactly, Ursula. Exactly. You know, so listen,
No,
whatever
right,
team you're with, like, they were the top of their profession, or their chosen sport. They were the top of it. And if you get a chance to work with any team, male or female, that are at the top of their game, you have to jump at it, and then you have to give it your all.
Yeah, no, it's funny you said it, because like, I suppose I was involved in Westmeath hurlers last year, and so like, we finished up with them in unusual circumstances. But like, people would say to me, "Geez, you missed the county hurling, you missed that." And like, imagine the Ashburn team in UL, and I was like, "Geez, no!" Like, I couldn't wait to get back to Ashburn team in UL. Like, so we have our huddle, we have our recovery, we have our swimming pools, everything. You're above Westmeath, you've no training pitches. They're still using YouTube clips for their bleeding ass. It's kind of like, people's perception is completely off. Like, the setup we have in UL is 10 years ahead of what the Westmeath hurlers have, you know. So it's just, again, that perception of camogie is just a bit skewed. Sometimes people don't realise what you were doing, obviously, as far back as 2010, and what we'd be doing UL and what WIT are doing is streets ahead of all bar the top 6 or 7 county hurling teams. So it's just that perception is a bit skewed. But I suppose, like, 2013, JJ, like you done unprecedented success to Wexford 21s. Like, you took a group that hadn't really won a whole pile really coming up along, even though there were some big names in it. But 2013, our Ireland semi-final, took a sucker punch from Antrim. Like, we were walking out of Thurles that day going, Jesus, it's only 11 months since I was nearly king of Wexford. And, you know, like, was that a tough time for you as a manager, as an individual? Hope there's a lag in the sound here now, and JJ isn't blank to me.
Can you hear me now? No, I'm gone. I tell you, that summer I ended up back over the camogie, because there was I suppose there was a bit of trouble or whatever. Something like, we won't go into the details. But within 2 weekends, we'd been beaten in an All-Ireland quarter-final and an All-Ireland semi-final in Thurles. I hated the sight of Thurles. And listen, the under-21s, I mean, the boys, they'd never won anything underage or anything come up along. We beat a very good Kilkenny team with the likes of, you know, Killian Buckley and Richie Power, John Power, and all those guys in it. And the problem was then there was 7-8 weeks of a gap to the All-Ireland semi-final, and lads not knowing how to kind of deal with that. And then like you're such overwhelming favourites, and everybody is telling you you're overwhelmed, and people are saying they're not going to the semi-final because they're waiting to go to the final. And young lads, and it's not making excuses or anything like that, like we should have won the game, but you know, young lads that are just not used to this kind of thing, and not used to dealing with it, no matter how many times you say it, no matter what you say. Like if it's in their heads, and if the lads, people at home are getting into their heads and that kind of thing, and listen, I'm not passing all the buck. I'm sure there's things we could have done better in that as well. But you know, again, we look on it and you look back on it and you say, well, we made a mistake then, but we learned from it the following 2 years, you know. And as good and all as it was winning Leinster, I mean, the goal was, like with the camogie, was to win the All-Ireland, and I suppose ultimately we failed.
I suppose it was a bit different in 2014. I suppose you ran into a Clare team that had a full forward line of Shane O'Donnell, Aaron Cunningham and Davy here. So like that was a slightly different mix. Average enough full forward line, and Tony Kelly, so young hurler of the year before. So Colin Galvin, Davy, and like he had a serious team. Like he'd Liam Ryan, Jack O'Connor, Jack Guiney, Conor McDonald. Like he'd players that went on and are keen in for Wexford now. So you remember that game well, Davy, I suppose.
We had the best under-21 team we've ever had. But I think someone gave me a stat last year that between that Clare under-21 team and the Limerick team that beat us the following year, 27 of the starting 30 have won All-Ireland seniors.
That's right. Yeah. That was a savage Limerick team in 2015. Like, Jesus,
it was, but team. Like that Clare team that was your 3 in a row as well. And you know, I knew what winning 3 in a row was like. So we wanted the boys to experience that feeling.
Well, I know, JJ, it was 2 in a row. Let's not give any credit to them that they don't deserve.
They won 3. They won 2009 as well, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
We won't give them the extra one.
No. Hold on a second now. Was it not 3 in a row? So the best of my knowledge, it was 3 in a row.
Yeah, I think it was 3 in a row.
I think it was 2012, 2013 and 2014.
We'll err on the side of caution there now with regards to giving Clare an extra one they don't deserve. Let's have a look at it.
A typical Limerick man.
Talk about small margins, and we talked about back in 2011 where Galway hit the post and Ursula ended up getting the goal on the back of it, and Kevin Foley in that game hit the crossbar, went up the other end of the field, and Clare scored a goal.
Who were you telling? We were up in the Red Cow on the Saturday night because we were playing the intermediate final with Limerick the following day, and my buddy was their coach, and I had a pile of money on themselves and ourselves to win, and Joe was trying to call a team meeting, and I just kind of had one foot in the door, he hit the crossbar.
Yeah, and then
the week celebrations had been gone out the window.
David Dunn came on and scored 2 goals, and you know, and I mean, it was any other team I reckon we probably could have won in All-Ireland, but like that was an unbelievable Clare team. Like there's no point in saying like that Clare team would have gone close to winning the All-Ireland senior, never mind the under-21. I mean, just the ability they had was phenomenal, and we probably happened a bit unlucky in meeting them and being around in their era and being around in Limerick's era. And like you look at it ourselves, Limerick, Clare, an awful lot of those guys most of them are the inter-county seniors at the moment.
Yeah, like the Limerick team that won in 2018, like that was backbone. The vast majority of those lads would have played on those under 21 teams. No,
like Dermot Burns was captain in 15, Cian Lynch, Tom Morrissey. Sure, I mean, you could go down through the whole half the team were there. Like, it
was a serious team. I suppose, look, Ursula, we've talked about the Ashbourne Cup already and the team you had in 2010. I suppose that you've dipped into management there as well. I suppose my first ever experience in the reality of Ashbourne, JJ, is I was managing Mary I, and we were only just up from Division 2, and we went down to Waterford on a cold old Tuesday night in November.
There's no other type of weather.
There's no other kind of night down in Carriganore, and I suppose it's the one trip we hate in Limerick colleges because it's winter time and you have to get the bus down, and I suppose they underestimated us a small bit, and we had a cracking team even though we were just up from Division 2. It was kind of tight near the end, and I called for a free, and next thing I see Ursula and Downey coming down the line, and I suppose I was left in no uncertain terms as to who was I to come into their field calling for a free. So that was, I suppose, that was the first taste of what the reality of camogie was like at that level for me anyway.
Yeah, well, I suppose you couldn't have a better woman to back you up than Anne Downey, because she's definitely in the top 3 most competitive people I know anyway. But Look, it was really enjoyable. I have to say, being involved on the management side of things. We worked really well as a team. Myself, Anne Downey, Paddy Mullally, Conor Phelan. We had a great bunch of girls as well there that year. But and we had a cracking final. But I do remember that very cold night in Carriganore. I don't remember coming down after you, but
it happens so often. I suppose you wouldn't remember the specific ones. It was new to me, like.
But look at Ashburn, as I said before, it was great to experience it from a player's point of view, but also being involved in the management side, because yourself the weekend, what's involved in it. Like, my God, you're drained for a couple of weeks after, because you're building up to this whole weekend where you're playing 2 massive games. You're trying to do the things, recovery on the Saturday night to get ready for a final the next day. But do you know what? There's something special about it too, and I wouldn't change it. And I think you are right. I think it needs to be very present in the camogie calendar. It's as I've said, it's such a brilliant platform for any player, but it's the camaraderie, it's the stories that you have, it's the team bonding days, it's and I mean it can really build you as a player, mentally, physically, but the management side was a completely different experience, and it's something that maybe I'd be looking to get involved in again maybe down the line. But it definitely gave me a small bit of taste for what it would be like and what's involved, and a greater appreciation for the likes of ye who are doing it, year in, year out too.
Yeah, no, it's we've talked about this before, Davey, just ourselves. I suppose they've kind of ruined the Fitzgibbon and the Sigerson by taking away the weekend element of it. And like, it's, as a manager, it's one of the most stressful things you'll ever do in your life. Like, the small things become huge things. You're in a hotel in Waterford trying to wash everyone's gear, and they all have their lucky socks and lucky warm-up tops, and you're trying to fucking dry them on the back of a chair inside the hotel room, and it's stressful enough. But look, like, for the players, it's just an amazing experience. And you've played in one Fitzgibbon weekend, Dave, haven't you, before they changed the format? Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. The weekends, it makes the whole competition. Like, when we were just starting college, it was the Fitzgibbon team are going to a weekend. It's that kind of camaraderie that you create when you bring the team together, bring them on the weekend. And it's just a shame that it's gone in Fitzgibbon. But it doesn't look like he'll be coming back anytime soon. I suppose, JJ, just when Ursula was talking about management, so you were kind of seeing both sides. You've been the manager, you've been on the management team. Like, what do you see as the main differences, or what you prefer even?
Listen, I prefer manager, but like, it's so much easier just being a selector, because you have your job to do. And it's like in any role or any job, if there's someone above you, well, then there's always someone to pass the buck to. But if you're the person on top, it stops with you. And, and it's brilliant when you win, because you like, I mean, you're talking to me tonight. The likes of Tommy and Joe and Geraldine and them would have done a huge amount of work, but they never get, the selectors and that, Jerry never gets talked to, but you lose. They don't want to talk to those people either. They want to talk to you, and you have to answer the question. So it's kind of the double-edged sword, but you can control things. You can, I suppose, instill your philosophy on things. You can put your standards onto it. Whereas when you're a selector, like we are with the lads, like, you can have your input in that, but ultimately it's down to the boss as to, who sets the real standards. Because the players, and I don't know if you'll even know that yourselves, like, you're training a team as a selector, and the lads are going well, and next thing the manager appears and they're going really well, and you're wondering, what is he doing today? But ultimately they know, well, he's the one that has the final say in whether I'm going to be playing or not. And that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
We were all the same when we were playing.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. That's a big difference. You really, inter-county, on a selection panel, like I am coaching, and that there is a lot of work involved in it, but it's a percentage of what the manager has to do, like, especially when it's someone like David. It's that everyone wants a bit of him.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I suppose. Yeah, look, it's Joe would always say the same to us. It's grand. You think it's great when we're winning, but when we're losing, nobody's giving out about the coach or the or the goalkeeping coach or anything like that.
David never listened to me when picking the right team when we were losing, you see.
Yeah, you better be careful. We could go with a couple of interesting snippets out of this now, JJ. It's very easy to cut it down.
Don't put that in anyway, I'll be shot.
No, we know. Look, we know well. But look, we're coming down the home stretch, lads. I suppose, not to go on a negative, but like you talked about it there, that Wexford hadn't been in a final since 2012, Ursula. But it's amazing to think that in the last 12 months, I suppose, that there's been occasion when Wexford have failed to fulfil a National League fixture, and I suppose they're operating in Division 2 of the National League. And I suppose as a legend down in Wexford, as someone who's so close to it and such a big part in it, how did you feel when that was going on? Did you feel a little bit sad, or what was the kind of the mood in the county at that time?
Look, it was extremely disappointing. It was frustrating. There was a little bit confusion, a lot of emotions really, because to be honest, we came from being involved in setups that had been so well run. The professionalism was there. There was a standard across the board from the leader, from the players and the management. And then to kind of see what has happened maybe in the last year or so was very disappointing. And it should never have happened. There shouldn't have been an occasion where a Wexford team travelled to Galway with 12 or 13 players. I still think of those 12 or 13 girls that did travel, and my God, that must have been extremely tough. The longest journey that they'll ever have had to Galway. And Galway is not a nice place to have to travel to, even with a panel of 30. So I can only imagine what it was like, with that number of players. But look, it was hard to watch, to be honest. I remember even being in Belfield, and Kilkenny were playing Wexford in Belfield and in Escarty. And, Kilkenny got 7 or 8 goals that day. And, Kilkenny are a super team. But, you could just see there was no kind of, morale within the Wexford setup. They just looked disillusioned, and it was hard to watch it. And, speaking to some of the girls, who are my club mates still and who would have been involved, it was hard for them as well. And, they're girls who were only starting out in their career maybe at 20, 21 years of age, and this is what they're coming into. So it was a completely different experience to what most of my Wexford career was. So it was hard for, to be there, nearly encouraging them to play, but knowing deep down that things maybe weren't ideal. But look, in fairness, I know this year is hard to say much on, but in fairness to Kevin Tatton, he's come in and he's trying to put a structure in place and he's trying to get things back up. Look, Wexford are not going to be winning All-Ireland every year straight away. They need to build again. I think it's actually no harm that they're in Division 2 of the league, because I think they need to actually get morale back into it. They need to get back winning games. It's been a disastrous year. The only game they've played is Kerry in the league. So, you can't really count anything. And I'd say it's frustrating for Kevin as well, because he's trying to build a relationship with the girls, get to know them, set his own style into a new setup. And it's been so stop-start this year. And obviously then with COVID-19, he hasn't been able to. So it'll be interesting to see. I think you have to give it a bit of time. There's definitely the talent there. JJ will say the same. He's involved with the Martins. I'm with Owlert. We've competed the last, couple of county finals, and the standard is super. And you're just looking to get the best players in the county playing for Wexford again. I think that's key, because the last couple of years, you haven't got all the girls from all the clubs that should be playing, that are good enough. And you have to kind of question, why are they not playing? Why are they not wanting to represent Wexford? Because when I was playing with Wexford, right from under 14 to the day I finished, it was an honour to play with Wexford. It was something that I always wanted to do. So if I'm a 19, 20-year-old girl now, not really looking to play for Wexford, but have the talent to play, there has to be question marks over what are the reasons. And I suppose that's Kevin's challenge now coming into the setup this year.
Definitely.
Very good. I think Adrian tried to bring that a bit negatively, but just trying to switch it back. From the team that you managed, JJ, the role models for female athletes has been superb. You have Helena Jacob, who managed Wexford. You've Megs Darcy coaching with yourselves. You've Kay Kelly in the media. You've Ursula. You've even Katrina there that was on our page during the week. But do you think it'll take something like bringing these kind of minds together and bring their energy back to Wexford camogie to try and bring them up the heights again?
Yeah, listen, as you say, you have the two O'Connors, Claire and Aoife do a good bit with TG Gar and that, but like I just even seeing Ursula on the Sunday game. I mean, what that should do for ladies sport, and never mind, Wexford alone. I mean, because I think people, you talked about it earlier, like why people would say, well, would you not go with the 21s instead of the camogie? Because they don't understand the quality of people are there. And I'll be honest with you, and again, it's not because Ursula's here tonight, but Ursula talks more sense on the Sunday game than most of the other lads there, if not all of the other lads there. And it just shows like
we agree with you.
Yeah, but I've no doubt. Like I know Mary Lacey is doing great work with. She's teaching up in Gorey Community School. It's the biggest secondary school in Ireland, doing massive work with underage up there. Like Ursula talks about, like they've won a couple of Leinster minors there in the last few years. Like the talent is there, and we started this conversation about 4 or 5 hours ago there, where you spoke about 1999 and the scoreline. And would anyone think that within 13 years that Wexford would have won 4 All-Irelands? Probably not. So it's not to be in absolute despair. Things have kind of gone up and down over the last 6 or 7 years. And that, but as Ursula was saying, like from listening to the girls and the Martins that were in with Kevin and that this year, like they were all committing to it because they felt it was something that was worth their while committing to. And I think that's probably the difference between the players of 19 or 20 now than what it was when Ursula and them were playing. Like, if they don't see now that the thing is right, they're just going to... It's just the way the youth are, and I know it makes me sound older than what I am, but like if they're going to college, they're listening to what other counties have, and if they don't have it, they're not going to waste their time. Because, as Ursula said, like, the championship within Wexford is very, very competitive, and like some of the talent is there. They just need direction, because that game that Ursula's talking about last year in Belfield with Kilkenny, and I was in at it as well, and to be honest with you, it looked like women against girls with the conditioning that those Kilkenny. But 10 years ago, the likes of Katie Power and all those, they were little, they were playing young girls that were 18, 19 years of age. Were only, like Ursula said, Katie and them were in WIT with them, and now you see after 10 years of proper training, like they are real athletes, and that's what the girls need. That seems to be what's there at the minute, that they're getting the proper structure is there, the proper strength and conditioning, and that's what they need, and they will buy into it. Like I know from talking to people around the county, there was 45 girls committed between the junior and the senior panels training this year, where, as Ursula said, could only get 13 to go to Galway last year, because maybe they just didn't buy into it and that kind of thing. So, I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but like it's not all lost, and I'd be very hopeful, but it needs to be done before it goes on for too long, because otherwise the younger ones coming up now won't aspire to play for Wexford, and that's a big thing. Like when you're going to training, you need to have the role models to aspire to, and no offense to that, but like we're soon going to be forgotten. I mean, the younger ones now, I mean, any girl that's 10, 11 years of age doesn't remember the 3 in a row. No. Anyone probably 12 years of age doesn't remember. Anyone in primary school probably doesn't remember the 3 in a row. It's like us looking back at the old All-Irelands there over the last few weeks. You're looking back at history. You're not looking back at stuff that you can actually remember. So it's important that before it's gone too long, that the girls that are playing now that do remember it, that they're worked with properly and the structures are put in there. And I think, as Ursula said, I think with Kevin and the guys that are in there now, and Buddy Brennan, Alan Brennan from Owlert is in there with the juniors and that, and he knows camogie and Wexford inside out, and all those guys can only be good for it. And like, I genuinely hope I haven't missed a home camogie game since I left them, because I just love going to it and I love supporting them, and they deserve it. But geez, it is horrible to sit there. When I remember last year I went into intermediates, we're playing Derry, and there was more Derry people in Belfield and Enniscorthy watching it than what there was Wexford people, and that is demoralising, and it's very hard to come back from that. So please God, when everything gets up and going again and everyone is so eager to get out to games, that when the girls are playing, whenever they will be, that they'll go and support them.
No, definitely. And look, the game, I know it's a cliche, and look, I was involved with Joe McDonough last year, and people say the game needs a strong athlete. Those sentiments don't count for anything, but like the game does need a strong Wexford. Like one of my favourite moments involved with Limerick Camogie. We went down and played Wexford and Wexford Park in the championship in 2015. Before Wexford and Cork and the Hurling, just the Wexford crowd that was there, and like, you know, we'd been in, I suppose, Crow Park the year before, like we'd said 5 hours ago, JJ, at the start there with 10 or 12,000 people in it, but being below in Wexford Park with a big Wexford crowd on a warm summer's evening, and there was still a massive gale going down the middle of it, of course, which there always is. But
a breeze.
A breeze.
But like, that was a fantastic experience, and it'd be a shame to think that there could be, like, you know, generations of camogie players not getting to go to Wexford Park and experience that kind of pride and passion that's there. But look, we'd better wrap it up. I suppose we had a couple of questions. One of them was from Declan Cullen on Instagram, JJ, to yourself. Was, look, is the future bright for Wexford camogie? I think you've answered that there. Hopefully, if they keep building on what they're building, it is. And the last one to you, Ursula, Katie Burke wants to know what your proudest moment in a Wexford jersey is.
Proudest moment. Oh God, I would say captain in the team. I didn't make an issue of it when JJ and the lads said I was captain, but walking up the steps in the Hogan stand, you know, getting to lift the cup, hugging my sister at the final whistle, meeting my family afterwards. But you know what? Actually, above all that, even more so, the homecomings each of the years, JJ will agree, like, I've never experienced anything like the homecomings, like the 10, 15,000. Yeah, like, but like, there was 10, 15,000 people, like, lying in the streets in Gorey, in Escarty, Wexford. You know, the respect that was given to us as players was incredible. And actually, those memories are the things that I'll hold most from the years involved with Wexford, because it was the people that you got to see, the faces in the crowd, and bringing the cup then back to your own parish as captain, you know, on the Tuesday night. You know, so it's those little things that you remember more so than the scores you might get in a game, or even captain in the team. Yeah, that was extremely special, but definitely the homecoming and getting to bring the cup then back to my home parish was probably one of the standout moments.
Brilliant. Guys, we're going to have to leave it at that. I think we mightn't even be able to upload it if we go on any longer. I have a feeling we could go down to the stores and add a couple of maybe creamy ones in there, and maybe stay talking for the night, and you know what, we might take it on the road.
I tell you, there'd be no point in going with myself and Ursula anyway, because we don't drink.
And myself and Davey can't, so we might have to go for a coffee someday. Well, guys, look, I think, Davey, we've made a bit of a mistake here in bringing these two on.
We'll drive you.
You can drive it. Ideal.
Go with that.
But I think we might have made a bit of a mistake getting the two of you on first, because it's going to be hard to top that, lads. That was not only brilliant, but thoroughly enjoyable. And thanks very much for, I suppose, having the faith in us for some reason to come on and record the first show with us. But look, thoroughly enjoyable, and really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
No hassle,
Thanks
no
very
bother,
much,
and best of luck with it's great to actually see a podcast with camogie, so best of luck and keep it up.
Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
That was super, Adrian. Two super Wexford greats, and a really interesting chat with them. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks of the podcast. Who else have we? Yeah,
definitely. Maybe we've set ourselves up for a fall here now after bringing on the two of them first. You get the feeling with those two that the stories they're not telling us are nearly as good as the ones they are telling us. But yeah, look, we've got some really good guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. We have representation of the J Club in Slaughtneil to talk about their amazing story and their 3 in a row and where they've come from. And the Gaeltacht, we have the McGraths, all of them, from Sarsfields on, including Hopper. We've Aoife Donoghue, Sarah Dervin on from Galway, Beth Carton and Donald O'Rourke will be on to talk about Waterford's run in the championship in 2019. And look, a whole host more as well. So look, really looking forward to it. Again, if you're listening on a podcast, please like, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button right there and give us a follow, subscribe as well. You can catch up with us on Twitter at Women's Hurling and on Instagram at Women's Hurling as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.